Welcome to the Full Court Entertainment Podcast. I'm your host, Sheldon Moore. We have another blockbuster trade. Remember, I recorded a video at 3 in the morning. The Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis trade. Here we are again, hours and hours later. De'Aaron Fox is finally traded to the San Antonio Spurs, and they actually have Zach Lavine going to the Sacramento Kings. Another blockbuster trade. This was actually, we actually knew this was probably going to happen. De'Aaron Fox, his wish list was the San Antonio Spurs to pair with Wemby. And Zach Lavine, we kind of figured like, could he be traded? If you are a Bulls fan, you kind of know like the Bulls kind of like to hang on to their players a little too late, but they actually decided to trade him. So this trade literally just came about, so I'm still looking at details and all that. But for now, let's start with the San Antonio Spurs side. For the Spurs, I am actually shocked that they got De'Aaron Fox and all they gave up is Zach Collins and Trey Jones. That's all they gave up. Every time I did a trade for like De'Aaron Fox, it would usually be Keldon Johnson was always in there. You might have to add Stephon Castle, but according to reports, the Spurs said, nope, he's untouchable. It's kind of crazy now because Luka Doncic was considered untouchable. He got traded, but Stephon Castle, he was not a part of the trade. So I give this a win for the Spurs. You still have your core. Devin Vassell, Stephon Castle, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Shohan, now with De'Aaron Fox, and obviously Wemby. You still got Chris Paul. You still got Harrison Barnes. This team is really good. And they didn't give up anybody. All they did was give up Trey Jones and Zach Collins. Like, nothing against them. You can replace them dudes. You can replace them. But I just love this for the Spurs because they get an actual star type player to pair with Wemby. And this was forthcoming even from last year. After the first year of Victor Wembanyama, you could tell that you're gonna have to like speed up this rebuild. This ain't gonna take like 3 years to do with like other players. No, we need to get players now, and that's what the Spurs did. They got players now that can help. You got a guy in Fox that's averaging 25, 5, and 6, shooting 46% from the field and 32% from the three. That's a win. And then maybe down the line, the Spurs can actually put more players around those two now. De'Aaron Fox is still pretty young. I think he's only around maybe like 27, I think, or 28, something around there. Don't know off the top of my head. But I feel like this is a good trade for the Spurs, man. I'm not going to lie, especially that they just didn't have to give up anything. Like, I think this is just a really good trade for them, and I'm excited for the Spurs, and I think their fans are excited too that they're actually trying to do something and help Victor Wembanyama. Like, Victor Wembanyama is generational. I don't care what anybody says, he's generational. Last year, I said you can damn near say he's a top 20, top 25 player in the league. This just off 1 year. But now I'm thinking he might be top 15. Some people going to say he top 10 in the league now. So when you have a player like that, you have to surround him with talent. And De'Aaron Fox, in my opinion, is the first step of surrounding him with a running mate and talent. So I love this trade for the Spurs side. A+ for me, at least. Now for the Kings. The Kings get Zach Lavine, a guy named Sidney Kaseko. I don't know his name, but you get Zach Lavine, you get 3 first-round picks, and you get 3 second-round picks. So for the Kings, they basically didn't have to. Okay, you get Zach Lavine, you already got DeMar DeRozan, you got Malik Monk, you got Sabonis, and you still got Keegan Murray. So that's your starting five. Malik Monk is most likely going to be your starting point guard, but obviously Sabonis handles the ball. You still get another good scorer in Zach Lavine. So it's not like, is he a better or equal scorer as De'Aaron Fox? You can argue that. I have no problem with if somebody say he's better or equal to. So for the Kings side, I really think they didn't lose. I didn't think they lose that much, but you lost your star type player. Like, You lost your franchise player. Because De'Aaron Fox basically told them last week, like, you guys really haven't done anything to basically win. Like, the Rosen move, me and my co-host, we said, like, it's a good move, but can this help them potentially win a championship type move? We basically both said no. So he looks at that and be like, you guys aren't doing nothing. Then they go on this losing streak early in the year. You fire Mike Brown, Doug Christie steps in, and then you're winning games. But to De'Aaron Fox, it still wasn't enough. And then he basically just asked for a trade out. Now you got Zach Lavine, and you still got Zach Lavine for like 2 more years. I think he's still got 2 more years plus a player option. So you really got him for almost 3 years. So really, it's not a bad trade. You get the first round picks. Let's see how those picks are. And you got 3 second round picks. So they get draft capital. You still get a good player. Are the Kings in contention to win a championship? Hell no. They are not winning no championship no time soon with this core. But now there was a report like either early, I think it was like yesterday, that DeMar DeRozan will think about like his future with the Kings because he signed here thinking obviously we got De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, Keegan, Sabonis. Now you traded basically your first or second best player. And now it's like, what are we doing? What is this franchise doing? So me personally, I don't know what they're doing, but it's not bad, I guess. But you do got Zach Lavine. Is he really a cornerstone? I don't know, but I mean, you got a good player. I'm not upset at it. You got a good player. If I had to trade on the King side, I give it like a C minus because you still got a good scorer who's averaging 24, 5, and 4. Zach Lavine has had a good year this year, in my opinion. You could argue he was an all-star snub. And he's shooting 44% from the field. So he's having a really good shooting year. And 51% from the field. He's having a really good shooting year. So Zach Lavine is still a good player, but he's not going to take you over the top to potentially win a championship. Could they be in the play-in? I think they could still make play-in. Now, if they make the play-in, could they be Houston or OKC? I'm not picking them over none of those two. So the Kings, I mean, you got a good player back, but you lost your star player. And he basically said he wasn't resigning with y'all. So y'all had no choice basically but to trade him. But overall, for the Kings side, I give it like a C+. I mean, you got a good player back, but it's just not it. Now for the Bulls side, okay. For the Bulls side, I'll say this. They finally got off of Zach Lavine. I think they're probably 2 years too late for this now. He kind of lost some value somewhat because early in the year, people didn't want to trade for him because obviously he got hurt and his contract. He's getting paid a lot of money. And obviously some teams at that time didn't want to trade for that. So now you got to be like, okay, can we really trade Zach Lavine or are we going to keep him? The Bulls have kept him for so long, his trade value kind of went down. They really didn't get nothing back for Zach Lavine, if we're being honest. You got back Kevin Huerter, Zach Collins, and Trey Jones. Those guys do absolutely nothing for the Bulls. The Bulls are doing, they're not doing anything. Like, bro, you got back 3 role players. You traded basically your best player. Now I'm thinking of the Bulls. Vucevic is gone. I think Vucevic will get traded by the February 6th trade deadline, which is this Thursday. I think that's going to happen. Like, if you are a Chicago Bulls fan, I'm from Chicago. So everybody knows that the Bulls always do a lot of questionable trades or they keep players too late. And this is what happens when you keep players too late. You get absolutely nothing back from them. They got their own 2025 pick, but you would think when you're trading like a Zach Lavine, you're the ones that should be the Kings getting 3 first-round picks. No, you get your own 2025 pick. So for the Bulls, I'm not going to lie. I really want to give them an F. But I will be cool with giving them like a D- because I just feel like they didn't get anything back. You got Kevin Huerter, Zach Collins, and Trey Jones. Like, those guys aren't your future. Now your future really is Kobe White, maybe Josh Giddey, I don't even know really because for some reason I feel like they're not even gonna pay him all that money he asked for in the offseason. Patrick Williams, who really isn't that good in my opinion. Montes Buzelis. Like, that's your building blocks in Chicago now. So now as a Bulls fan, the Bulls were really kind of just on a rebuild maybe like 4 years ago. They were just on a rebuild when they traded Jimmy Butler away for Zach Lavine. Then you bad for like 3 years. You get Lonzo. You signed DeMar DeRozan. Obviously, you traded Vucevic the year before. We looking up. Lonzo gets hurt in like December or January. It's been down. It's been bad since. And the Bulls management, man, it's just been real bad for them. And I don't really know what they're doing. The Bulls are they're just a bad organization. I do not like this trade for the Bulls at all. They probably got fleeced. I'm not gonna lie, because I feel like you could have got way more players back for Zach Lavine. I'm thinking back of that Warriors trade that was early in the year, like in the offseason. They could have traded Chris Paul and they could have traded Zach Lavine and got Chris Paul or Andrew Wiggins. I would have probably taken that. At least Andrew Wiggins is a decent player. He's a good player. I ain't gonna say he raw or anything, but he's a good player. So I rather would have taken that over Kevin Huerter. Yeah, 3-point shooter, but he ain't really all that good. Zach Collins is he's okay, but he don't do nothing for me. Trey Jones, we already got a lot of point guards. What do we need that for? Now, like I said, Vucevic is probably most likely gone. Lonzo, I think we got to try and move him too. This is the last year of his deal. He's getting paid $20 million. I think we got to flip him. So if I'm the Bulls, it's just not good for the organization, man. It's a bad trade. So I'm going to give the Bulls a D-, but I really love it for the Spurs, man. Because the Spurs are an organization that said, look, we got a good player. We got a generational player. Let's go out here and trade for one, because we know we're not going to get players, superstar or star players to sign here. So as a small market team, we have to trade for players. That's what they did. You traded for De'Aaron Fox, and you didn't give up none of your core players. And that's why they get an A+, man. I think the Spurs are really going to be good. Now, my co-host said title contenders. I ain't going that far. Could they potentially be contenders in the West? There is a chance they could be contenders in the West, but to actually win the championship, I am not going that far. I'm just not doing that. But I'm putting the Spurs as a really good team now. This is a good team, and like the Kings, they're still decent, but they ain't going nowhere. The Kings are not going nowhere. But this is a good trade overall. And now, when you look at these trades, you look at these teams and trades, what are the Warriors going to do now? The Warriors are looking back like, bro, we could have had Zach Lavine if we would have did this, but we don't want to mortgage the future. And maybe that's why the Warriors are still going to be like a bad team or just a mid team, because you're not taking risks like this. This is what you got to do, man. You gotta make trades. As long as you got Steph Curry and he's playing at a high level, you got to take the risk, man. And the Warriors I think they're kicking themselves saying, man, if this is what it was going to take for Zach Lavine, we should have made that trade earlier season, or we should have asked for him. And they didn't ask for him, man. Like the Warriors, I think they kind of messed up with this trade, and it looks bad on their part. And the Warriors, they got to look and try to see if they could get, like, say, a Jimmy Butler. He's probably the only really good free agent left. Or they did talk about Vucevic. Let's see if they go after Vucevic, because the Warriors do need a big. So this is the time for the Warriors to actually try to make a trade to help Steph Curry out, at least for the rest of this year. But overall, man, I like this 3-team deal. I think it's really good for the Spurs. I think it's okay for the Kings, and I think it's just straight up bad for the Chicago Bulls, man. Being a Chicago Bulls fan, I just know people are saying I'm not a Chicago Bulls fan, but I'm from there, so I just know how it is being from Chicago and how the sports teams really don't do a lot of work. But overall, Spurs get an A+, the Kings get a C-. and the Bulls get a D minus. But I really love it for the Spurs, man. I really love it for the Spurs. They didn't give up nothing for De'Aaron Fox. So now you got two superstar players on that team. I love it for them, and this is what you got to do. I really like it for this team, man. I really like it. They didn't give up no Stephon Castle, no Keldon Johnson, no Devin Vassell. Nobody. They didn't give up anybody for De'Aaron Fox. I can't believe that. Like, I swear to God, I thought they would at least give up Keldon Johnson some picks. And we did a trade machine on the pod the other day. I forgot what the trades were, but we did trades for that. And look what happened. They did it. This is crazy, but I like the trade. Good trade for all sides, I guess, except the Bulls. But that's it for the Full Court Entertainment Podcast. I'm your host, Sheldon Moore. If there's any more breaking news, I will record a video on it that same day. But I'll see y'all next time.